Select the one word or phrase that needs to be used in place of the underlined text to make the sentence correct, or indicate that the underlined text is not an error. The president has floated proposals to tax wealthy Americans' unrealized capital gains at death. Before taking a look at our choices, let's see if we can find an error in our underlined phrase. Our phrase has an apostrophe in it, which tends to confuse people. Let's take a minute to review apostrophe rules. Let's take the common noun cat. We add an apostrophe s to show we're talking about something that belongs to the cat. For example, the cat's milk. But what if we're talking about something that belongs to multiple cats? Then we already have an s at the end of the word. In that case, we simply add an apostrophe after the s, with no additional s following it. The cat's milk. Using this method, it's easy to see if we're talking about a singular or plural subject. With this in mind, let's take a look at our sentence and our word's apostrophe placement. The president has floated proposals to tax wealthy Americans' unrealized capital gains at death. Let's break this down. First, we see that unrealized capital gains belong to wealthy Americans, so an apostrophe is definitely necessary here to show possession. But our question remains, do we put the apostrophe before or after the s? Because there's no article before wealthy Americans, such as a wealthy Americans or the wealthy Americans' capital gains, we can see that we're talking about multiple wealthy Americans, or, more accurately, wealthy Americans in general. That being the case, we're discussing wealthy Americans in the plural. Now that we've established that, if we want to show that the unrealized capital gains belong to multiple wealthy Americans, we need to put the apostrophe after the s, just like we put it after the s when discussing milk that belongs to multiple cats. This being the case, we can see that the apostrophe placement in the original text is correct, and our answer is likely A, no error. If we'd like to be cautious, we can take a look at our other options. B, wealthy Americans. Putting the apostrophe before the s indicates that we're talking about one American. As we've already established that we're talking about Americans in general, as there's no article before Americans in our sentence, we can mark this choice off. C, a wealthy Americans. Saying a wealthy American indicates we're talking about one single American. However, the apostrophe placement here after the s is appropriate only when talking about multiple Americans. As this choice contradicts itself, we can mark it as incorrect. And D, wealthy Americans with no apostrophe. We've already established that we're discussing something that belongs to these Americans, unrealized capital gains. This being the case, we need an apostrophe somewhere to show possession. As this choice has no apostrophe, we can mark it as incorrect and mark our original answer, A, no error, as our final answer.